So I want to play you guys Mika Brzezinski on Morning Joe. I think this was from this morning. She was like, look, I still believe in Joe Biden. I just think we just need an explanation for what we saw last week in the debates. Here's some of that.
So now, after Thursday's abysmal debate performance, President Biden finds himself at rock bottom again. It was bad. And again, a chorus of Biden doubters. My family and I, as you know, have known this man for decades, and his family as well. And yes, I know them personally. And I still believe in Joe Biden. I've learned that counting him out is always a mistake. And doing that now could be catastrophic for our country. Do there need to be changes? Yes. Managing him.
No. Managing him?
To his schedule. Changes maybe even to those around him. I'll also say America needs an explanation from Joe Biden and reassurance that the other night was a one-time event and
it wasn't
not part of a larger problem.
Ma'am, have you been living the last 3.5 years? Were you alive the last campaign? We've already. What do you mean we need to make sure this isn't part of a larger problem? Sometimes I listen to this and I'm like, you can't, has she convinced herself of this? Do they lie so often on mainstream media that they just convince themselves of the lie? There's no possible way that she believes in what she's saying right now. None. She even makes the remark that it's just the other people's fault because they're not managing him. Why would a reasonable adult with all of his faculties need anybody to manage him? She's admitting in her statement that he needs people to make his decisions for him. And then she's like, we just need an explanation for this one-off. It's like, it just drives me bonkers. I just don't even know. Are you this evil? Are you this stupid? Or do you lie to yourself so often that you believe the lies? What is it?
It's really interesting. And I think what we just watched, and I would also put the Van Jones commentary for right after the election, right after the debate in the same category. The lies that you see are evidence that this movement is real. Because they could come out and be wise-ass snarky. That was terrible. What the hell went on there? Right. And be tough on him. The way they're talking is loving support. We love you.
Of their elderly grandfather with dementia?
And that's the way you actually could convince him to leave this race. The way to get him to leave this race is to appeal to his ego, appeal to his sense of history. You've been fantastic. Everyone loves you. You have this incredible legacy. Don't mess it up. That's the way, as a friend, to appeal to Joe Biden to get him to drop out. If you're just tough on him and just calling him names, then most people, he's going to say, "Well, screw you. I'll do what I want." These are his friends saying this to him. So I think the movement is real. I do think that this isn't just a BS, oh gosh, they're panicking for a couple days thing. There are a lot of people who really do want him out. Look, she's an embarrassment. She's always been an embarrassment. And, she's on the show that 3 months ago was telling you he not only was Biden cogent, he's the best he's ever been.
Sharp as a tack.
The best he's ever been.
Angering.
And the lies, there has to be accountability for the lies. Mm-hmm. It can't just be they get to just embrace what we've been saying for multiple years. And now we're all like, oh, okay, I'm glad they're on our side now. They have to be accountable for lying to us for year after year after year after year. We all saw this happening. The American people saw this happening. They just kept trying to lie their way out of it. And the scariest part about this, as far as people with children in this country, is that this was their best effort to hide it from us.
Yeah.
What you saw on Thursday night was hundreds of people with high salaries, with expertise in this area, doing everything they can to make him look good. That's what we just witnessed, and that's what that's what they came up with. It's terrifying.
At Camp David for a week.
Oh my gosh. Did you guys read that Politico report? It came out the day of the debate.
No.
It came out that morning, and they talked about just this kind of goes to maybe they need to look at his people. It was not his people's fault.
No.
They prepared him. If you read that article, it goes into they prepared him for every single question that he was going to be asked. How did he know all the
I was
questions?
about to say,
asked,
but they said that they didn't leak the questions, Jason.
That's a conundrum.
Trust CNN?
Huge conundrum. I don't know. But yeah, so somehow he knew every single question they were going to ask. They talked about how they were prepping at Camp David, and his prep included an airplane hangar, which I guess was also out at Camp David, where they fully constructed the debate stage. I mean, almost like an exact replica.
Wow.
He stood up there and was grilled questions.
He could be comfortable.
From the moment. Exactly. Yeah. They did everything possible that they could do. Wow. I mean, it was like war planning.
Now they're like, I was over prepared. Like, imagine you have to take the fall for this. Like, you're some aide. You worked really hard to prepare this guy, and now you have to take the fall for it. Look, he's 1,000 years old. He's 1,000 years old, and he's fading fast. And the difference of someone had clipped together clips of him from 2019 in his primary debates as he was going to win the nomination. And yeah, he looks old. Yeah, he looks a little slow. Yeah, he's slurring words here and there and making mistakes. But it is drastically different than what we're seeing now. I mean, it is. We all knew he was old and fading. Watching those two next to each other, you realize how. I'm not talking about going back to 2012 against Paul Ryan. I'm talking 2019, 2020. He has fallen off a cliff when it comes to his mental acuity.
That's saying a lot because in 2019, during those debates,
we were like, this guy's gone.
Yeah. He literally was bleeding out of his eyes. Literally. He had blood coming out of his eyeball. And we were like, okay, he's not going to make it to the election. And now here we are, and he comes out, and he's like, I thought when he first started talking, I was like, this is a setup. Like, are they setting us up for him getting removed? Like, this seems like
I wondered that too. What I wondered was, are his handlers so done with him that like they just were like, yeah, we'll take you to Camp David and prep you for a week. And they were just legitimately like, don't worry, Grandpa, you'll do great. Don't worry about it. And like not prepping him. I legitimately had that thought at a certain point. Cause it's like, it's hard to, we talked about this earlier, Stu. It's hard to like, you couldn't prep for how bad that was.
Okay, well,
I mean, it's hard to like really get it to sink in.
On the flip side, I mean, as far as like blaming his people, they were using some obvious talking points that have already been debunked. Mm-hmm. Like one of the first things he talked about was just inject some bleach into your arm. Okay, debunked.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
What was the other really big one?
Very fine people on both sides.
That one.
Yeah.
I mean, they obviously saw that.
Right.
They knew the entire country saw that because it was blasted all over the place. And he leads with that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, huh?
Yeah.
That was strange. Look, you got to blame Joe Biden for this, right? Overall, I mean, it's his fault. But the one thing I will say was real malpractice was if you knew his voice was going to sound that way, you needed to get out in front of it and say he had a cold 2 or 3 days ago. And build it up. He's on his deathbed. Everything you can do to make people expect the absolute worst. Mm-hmm. And then like you could get through most of the rest. If we all knew for 3 days leading up to that, he had strep throat and was really, really sick, but was just bouncing back and could do the debate, it would have been more excusable. We all expected him to come out and kind of sound normal. And then they 20 minutes after it started, they're like, he has a cold. It's like, you can't do that after.
It would have been a bonus. It would have been like kind of like evidence to his stamina.
Right.
Like he has been on his deathbed, but he's going to pull through and he's going to do it for you.
Right.
It would have been better.
Yeah.
Instead, was that in the middle of the debate? Like,
after the debate started,
I'm being told
25 minutes in, we're being told that there's a cold in play. And it's like, okay, guys, you can't do that. You need to like, and that should have been out there just from the sound of his voice, true or not. So that was, I think, that's the only thing. And again, like his communications team is led by Corinne Jean-Pierre. What do you think's going to happen? It's not going to go well.
Well, by the way, so when we got to take a break. When we come back, I do want to talk about his potential predecessor. But just so in case you guys missed it, Jill Biden is, instead of, like bringing her husband to the nursing home where he belongs, she's on the cover of Vogue magazine today wearing a $7,000 outfit because nothing says, I relate to you, America, like wearing a $7,000 power suit while the rest of us are just trying to, pay our grocery bills. So it's just, I know, it's disgusting.
We had a literal supermodel as first lady.
I know, and they never
got the cover of anything.
Never.
And now this liberal hag goes on Vogue.
I know.
That's crap.
That's Dr. Liberal Hag to you,
Sorry.
Jason.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, it's really just despicable what she's doing, knowing that her husband is in the state that he is in. If you like this clip and you want to see the full episode, click here. And if you want to subscribe to the channel, come on, you know you do. Click here.